My God.
It's another sad day in America.
Painful to be introduced to George Floyd during his last breath with the cop's knee on his neck. He deserves so much more.
How many black lives have to be taken before something is done?
We are not a threat.
I am shaking as I type.
This has got to stop.
We are sick of it.
Conviction.
I just want us all to live.
Death will not stop until the powers that be are finally held accountable.
Don't look away from the truth until every one of us are free from white supremacy.
The world stands with cops.
Criminalizing and killing of black and brown bodies is not new. It's as old as America. It's just getting filmed more.
Do you know what it feels like to be hunted? To have a new hashtag for a dead black person every single day? How does one plan a life if they aren't sure they will have a life to plan?
Trayvon,
Teresa Armstrong, Deborah Dance,
Megan
Michelle Lee
George Floyd. His name was George Floyd. Say his name. Say his name.
George Floyd. Say his name.
Say their names.
Once again, and always, we fight for justice.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Rest in power, beautiful. You didn't deserve this.
The Creole Seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole Seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
Welcome to Volume 1, Episode 2 of the Knights of the Round Table, the show which we take you inside HBCU sports, culture, and a few other things with 9 topics. Why did we choose 9 topics? In honor of the Divine Nine that has so much influence on the campus of our HBCUs. Joining us today from Bachelor Pad Radio Network and Editor-Chief Emeritus of the BASN Newsroom, Tony McClean. Tony, how you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this today.
Also joining us today is from the Carlos Brown Show, the man who was so good they just named the show after him. Carlos Brown, how's it going there, my brother?
Right, AD, and I appreciate the invite, the chance to have a debate and dialogue with you guys.
And somebody who I've probably spent more time with over the past weekend than I have spent more time with him than any member of my family, probably in the past year, it seemed like. My partner, my ace, the other half of the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and AD. Since I'm AD, that must be Bryan. Bryan Fulford, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, man, it's good to see you made it home safely from Nashville. Good to see you, Drew.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you how the last 30 minutes of that ride whooped me, man. It was tough, man.
Had a rough flight myself, so I feel your pain.
Hey, thank y'all for joining us today. You can always follow us along on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, on the BCSN app, or the HBCU Pro Sports Media website, along with each of our individual social media accounts. Since we're talking about social media accounts, everybody want to quickly go around and tell everybody where they can interact with you guys on a personal level. Tony, you want to give your social media handle?
Yeah, we have BASN has a Facebook page. We're at Still Solo Sports at Facebook. And we're also on Instagram as BASN_newsroom. And I'm also just personally on Twitter myself. It's at Anthony McClean.
Carlos
Brown Show, all social media platforms, at least the big three, Instagram, Carlos Brown Show. Also on Facebook Messenger page. Just simply look for the Carlos Brown Show. And also on Twitter, franchise_show.
Bryan, do the quick version of the plugs.
quick version. Yeah. At my BCSN1, the number one is where you can find the Black College Sports Network on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Find me personally at DRB365 on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter at BCSN Drew. That's at BCSN DREW. All right, fellas, topic number one. Magic City Classic. Alabama A&M soundly defeated Alabama State. It was a good game for about quarter and a half. Then Alabama A&M opened it up. Aquil Glass did. He almost threw an interception in. I believe that was the second quarter, but the referees went to replay and overturned that. And then from that point on, he just kind of did the typical Aquil Glass show. So, Bryan, we're gonna start with you. Give us your thoughts on the game.
I will admit, Drew, I'm a little disappointed that they only put 52 points up on the board. I'm just saying. But no, it was a good win for Alabama.
And that was a combined 52 points.
Combined 52 points on the board. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, but I thought the first half was a little sluggish. I expected a little more. Not gonna lie. But Aquil Glass does what he does. It's a great system for him, having somebody like Connell Maynor getting him ready for the NFL. So every game I watch now with the mindset of he will be a future NFL quarterback, and I really hope somebody gives him that opportunity in 2022.
All right, Carlos.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to Alabama A&M in being the 2021 Eastern Division champs. Coming in this ball game, I was interested in seeing if Alabama State, that front seven, could they challenge Alabama A&M's offensive line in the pass protection? And the key was, can Alabama A&M keep Glass upright, safe? I thought they did a great job of that, albeit Glass and Alabama A&M started off a little slow offensively, but they were able to run off 21 straight unanswered points. They were able to spread the field. And then also defensively, I wanted to see if Alabama A&M showed any improvement from their previous game against Jackson State. They were able to improve. So with that being said, they were able to accomplish a goal, and that was getting into the SWAC football championship game. So congratulations, Coach Maynard, the staff, and the players.
All right, Tony, bring it on home, Tony.
Sorry about that, guys. I had my phone went out for a quick second, but I think what we just saw was just Mr. Glass just add on to his resume, and I'm with Bryan. I'm hoping that he really does get a good shot, and I hope teams really take a good look at what he can and what he can do. Maybe he has to put on a few more pounds to play in the NFL, but for the most part, I think he's already separated himself as arguably the best quarterback in HBCU football. But now I think we have to start talking about him being one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
All right, fellas. Since we got classics, let's move on to the next classic. That being Carlos's favorite classic, the Bayou Classic. No introduction needed. It was the second largest margin of victory in the Bayou Classic series. They probably wouldn't even call it the Bayou Classic when the largest margin of victory occurred. So, Carlos, I'm going to give you the opportunity to start this one off.
Well, Southern University was able to come out and force their will, and Southern likes to run the football, and they like to be very physical up front. They were able to do that. And look, they were favored coming in this ball game because Grambling State, let's just be brutally honest, they've had some hardships to overcome, and they just quite couldn't get there. They had double-digit starters that they lost either from COVID protocol, transfer portal. But that's a sign of a good team. When you are expected to win and you have an advantage, you have to take advantage of the situation. And boy, from an offensive standpoint, Southern over 500 yards of total offense. And I don't know if you guys saw what I saw, but Skelton at quarterback, and then also Lampley, they were in together on a couple of plays, and I was just ecstatic over that. But Grambling State will have to bounce back in the fall, and they have a lot of hardships to overcome. It'll be interesting to see what Grambling State is able to do. But Southern University, probably, arguably, one of the hottest teams, and you notice one of the hottest teams going into the fall and then at the end of the spring season. But Southern University were able to be dominant in the football game in the Bayou Classic.
Tony.
Yeah, it's they've been struggling all year. It's really been it's been kind of surreal watching them play as bad as they have this year. I know that earlier in the year, Coach Files was saying, this was going to be a struggle, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be something along these lines. But you got to give Southern its due. This is a game where this is a rivalry game, and they did what they had to do. It's a shame, I guess, that they lost some games due to COVID as well, but maybe they probably would be in the running for the championship right now if it wasn't for a few COVID related incidents along the way. But it's definitely something that you're going to keep in the back of your mind when they play for real again this coming fall.
All right, Bryan, bring us home.
In the preseason, I was very shocked and a little dismayed that I didn't see more attention called to the fact that Grambling State did not have any players on the preseason all-SWAC team. That kind of shocked me. And it left me thinking, why is nobody talking about this? Is the cupboard that bare? And I guess the cupboard is that bare. I mean, we see it in what they've gone through this year. This 49-7 loss. They got outgained 520 yards to 208. Again, 520 to 208. That is astounding that, just a year ago, matter of fact, in the 2019 season, I was one of the few people, I feel like, and Carlos, you're down in Louisiana, maybe there were others down there, but I was praising Grambling for being underrated, not being talked about, for the kind of defense that they were having and the great season they were having going into the Bayou Classic. in 2019. So for it to all just kind of go 180, man, it's a long hill to climb, but I think Coach Fobbs is the guy. Don't give up on him just yet, Grambling. Everybody goes through these highs and lows. Don't give up on him. The same guy who won you a couple titles is the same guy who can get you back to the top of the mountain. Just give it some time.
And that's how I want to bring it home, you know. Grambling, Gram fam, RELAX. Yes. Relax. This is the season no one really wanted to play, but because of more obligations to the conference and the university and just trying to do what you could for these kids, they went out and played this season. This is Grambling, not Alcorn. They attempted to play. You know, so Grambling fan, get off of Coach Fobbs. It's gonna be okay. Now he does this next year, and we're back at full capacity. Then you got something to complain about. Right now, hey, just chill. Just be happy that we have football to complain about. Moving on. Before we get to this next topic, got a couple people joined us, chimed in on Facebook. George Walker, Herbert Bolden, DeJuan Dishman, Sherman Miller, and the name we've heard a lot of times on a few of our shows, Chuck Hunt, out there watching us right now. What's going on, brother Chuck? All right, we talked about the East champion. Let's talk about the West champion in the SWAC, UAPB. I think I'm the only one on this panel who called this back in the preseason. Carlos was there when I did it. I called it on his show, so I'm not gonna gloat, but yes, I am. I'm gonna gloat. I'm the host of the show, so
you're gonna gloat.
I call both of them. I'm not gonna tell you who I had to win it overall, but I did call A&M. I did call UAPB. So, but let's go over UAPB preview. Tony, you get to lead this one off.
Well, again, this was them, taking that step back to 2012. They were able to win the division. Most importantly, also beat Prairie View for the first time since 2012. And, you got to give a special shout out to Mr. Perry with the 5 touchdowns. And again, just a dominant performance. And they still have a lot more to show when they play Texas Southern. But I think it would be tough for us not to look past this championship game in another couple of weeks with them and A&M. To me, and I don't know how everybody else feels, to me, they seem to be, of all the teams, they seem to be the most balanced on both sides of the ball.
Now, before I let Brian chime in on this one, G-Boom Holly says UAPB barely beat a team with no running backs. So take that into consideration as we break down the UAPB Prairie View game. Go ahead, Brian.
I just think UAPB has a good offense. I'm not gonna speak too loudly about their defense. I mean, it has been opportunistic when it needed to be, but this is all about the how strong their offense is. They've got some high level receivers. Skylar Perry, even in the dual quarterback role that he was in, in 2019 when UAPB got off to the hot start, and they were putting up numbers last year. So the offense has continued to flourish, and I just think, look, honestly, they caught Southern when they weren't playing at their best. They caught a down Grambling State team. And, as it was just said, they're playing UAPB without any running back. So, look, I hate to make it sound like...
And they played Prairie View coming off of COVID.
Yeah, and they were all coming off of COVID. So I don't mean to take anything away from UAPB, but, look, they are taking advantage of the opportunity in front of them. And I felt like this opportunity was there for them a couple years ago. So the question is, can they maintain or can they keep getting better? I'm sure Coach will tell you, Coach Gamble will tell you there's still room for improvement for Prairie View for UAPB. And that's what they've got to show over the next week against Texas Southern and then in that championship game against Alabama A&M.
All right, Carlos.
Well, Brian, I guess I agree and somewhat disagree. But with that being said, let's give props to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Here's what they've done. They went into Southern, and let me say this: everybody started out somewhat even. What is it? Playing during the pandemic, everyone had hardships to overcome. But back to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, they went into Mumford Stadium, went into Baton Rouge, and defeated Southern University. Then they went into Grambling State, places that they have struggled with traditionally, and they came in and they got a victory. Then, albeit Prairie View coming off a COVID protocol, they're at home, they defeat Prairie View. Now, those are three teams that traditionally vie for the Western Division. Now, are they perfect? No. But again, everybody had to go through some hardships. So with that being said, congratulations to Arkansas Pine Bluff. I don't know if they're going to be able to play against Texas Southern, with Texas Southern being in the COVID protocol. But I will tell you this, they should be congratulated. But I will also say this, in the fall, they will go from being hunting to being the hunted.
All right, we talked about that just quickly as we close out the discussion on the SWAC, their championship game. Who's going to host it? Well, if both teams win Saturday or both teams lose Saturday, we got to pull out all these tiebreaker scenarios. And to sum this up, it's going to get down to the coin flip from what I've been able to decipher based on what the SWAC has put out. They did not play head-to-head. No common opponents, so they eliminate number two. Non-division opponents, record is the same. There's been no coaches poll in 3 weeks. I hope they don't use that as the tiebreaker. NCAA FCS simple rating system. They did not put that out this year. Point differential between common head-to-head matchups. Once again, no head-to-head. We're at number 6. Number 7. Point differential between the tied teams' common head-to-head matchups against teams with the best overall record and proceeding through other common non-divisional teams based on the order of finish. Once again, these two teams have not played the same teams this year. And now we down to a coin flip. So that's what we're going to have. We're going to have a coin flip, y'all.
And can we have that coin flip, Drew? Can we have that coin flip broadcast live? We don't want any telephone conference calls. Dr. McClellan, SWAC, let's make sure we get that thing on broadcast, please. Just saying.
You got the SWAC network. So they can do it at Dr. McClellan. If you can't do it, our number. We'll handle it for you, Dr. McClellan. Long as they don't do it virtually, if you understand what I'm saying. We don't need a virtual coin flip. We actually need to see the silver dollar with the head and the tail on it. Fellas, let's take a break. Let's take a break on that note, fellas. When we come back, we're going to get into the MEAC, into Tennessee State, and a few other topics. You're watching Knights of the Round Table right here, HBCU Pro Sports Media presentation.
Because the fight isn't over yet.
You will see me choose to protect my community by wearing a face cover.
And even with my face covered,
you will see me.
As a son.
As a man with a never quit attitude.
As a fighter for change.
Join me in wearing a face cover.
To help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because this is one small act of kindness
that has the power to make a big difference.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
There's a shot. To right.
Might be.
It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
I'll be back. And we're back here on Nights of the Round Table. Our friend Mo Carter from WZDX TV sports director in Huntsville, Alabama, sent us a note saying that the common opponent will be Valley. So it looks like it may come down to point differential against Valley. Poor Valley. Yeah. That means we're going for the blowout this weekend.
Yeah.
I personally like the coin flip though, but
so
I understand.
I understand. Somebody gonna have to be on the receiving end of that butt whipping. It looks like, and Valley is the candidate. Let's move over to the BAC. South Carolina State, Delaware State. Delaware State came out and played ball in this game, and the game that everybody pretty much thought South Carolina State was going to dominate. And I'm not gonna lie, I had South Carolina State in that game. So Bryan was there when I was crying when that game went to overtime. We were at the hotel in Nashville. So I'm gonna let him sum up my emotions in that game.
Yeah, look, Delaware State, interesting team. That's a tough loss overtime, but give them credit for actually tying it up to Drew's dismay, that they actually tied it up, and they even had an opportunity, I believe, at the end of regulation to, or maybe it was early in the first overtime, they had a field goal attempt that went awry. But I guess South Carolina State wins the MEAC. Think about that for a second. I mean, Howard. Did
they really win the MEAC? Because they didn't play Howard.
I mean, look, they didn't play Howard?
No. They played Delaware State twice.
All right, well, look, they beat Delaware State, who beat Howard twice.
Howard.
So
that's that old poll.
The man's next to the man's the next
A,
to the
B,
man's
B, and B, B, C, so A is better than C.
There you go. That's exactly what happened. And so South Carolina State, you are the MEAC 2021 spring champions. I don't know if you hang banners and give out rings for that kind of thing, but look, it's such a disappointment this year. And the unfortunate part for South Carolina State, they don't even get a chance to go to the playoffs. Just all around a cup of disappointment. But hey, congratulations on the guys for playing. I do think though that playing the 5 games for Delaware State was a positive. I do think that, and we'll see what happens in the fall.
Give them a certificate during the banquet. That's about all you get for winning if you won over there with 2 games. Carlos, you're up.
Pick E, none of the above. That's not a part of it.
Hey, it's our show. We can add that to the selection.
But I will say this, a tough loss. In Delaware State, I got a chance to see them against their rival the week prior to that, and they struggled. And historically, they've always had it tough. But you saw a much better effort and improvement. And what do they tell you? Special teams can cost you a couple of games a season, and it can win you a couple of games a season. But they were, they improved, and in knowing their fellow MEAC brethren, South Carolina State, adequate job. They just fell short. So in the fall, hopefully they'll be able to improve and get in and be in the mix with the MEAC championship. But boy, you really wonder, how will the MEAC, what will it be like starting in the fall and going forward? But South Carolina State, big victory. Delaware State, they improved.
Shout out to FAMU Athletic Director Courtney Gaucher, who's watching, who's probably thinking, that's their problem now. I'm going over here. I'm moving across town. Tony, go ahead and bring it home on this BAC discussion.
Yeah, I give Del State a lot of credit because, like Carlos was saying, they were coming off of a rivalry game, and you had to know that they were, there was a little bit of a hangover from there, because it seemed like it took them a while before they got started, but they just ran out of gas more than anything else. But yeah, this will, if nothing else, this gives them a nice impetus going into the fall, and maybe when they catch them again, maybe they knock them off this time. Maybe they knock off South Carolina State this time.
And let me add this, Drew, if I could. Think about this for a second. These spring games. Now, normally you get a spring game. We had an opportunity to go see a spring game, blue, white, orange, green, whatever you want to, whatever colors.
Yeah, you might get a scrimmage, and then you got the one in front of the fans.
But think about this. These schools got an opportunity this spring to really play probably about 4 or 5, maybe some 3 games, okay? There's going to be the ability to learn from those games, real bullets. I think you're going to see some improvement. Pay attention to these teams in the fall. Really, I mean, pay attention to South Carolina State. Pay attention to Delaware. I mean, we joke, but I really think these teams getting real bullets, these players getting real action, they can take the whole summer off and really just be light work, weights, whatever, nutrition. There's going to be some value to this. And I think when as I'm looking at South Carolina State's numbers throughout these 4 weeks, you played Alabama A&M, you played State, you had a close games against Delaware. There's some value in that. I'm just saying, pay attention to these teams into the fall. The teams that played, I think, will have a big advantage over the teams that did not in the fall.
The only thing I want to contrast that with, Brian, let's watch overusage injuries in the fall. Do we see ACLs? Do we see shoulders? Do we see more of those type injuries in the fall? Do you see a few more concussions? Just some things that we need to look for in the fall, just to see for those teams who played more than a game or 2 this spring. Let's move over. Last football topic: Tennessee State. Eddie George. We've kind of seen the reaction. We heard the rumblings over a week ago. He's come in. He's had his press conference. A lot of smack talking back and forth. Memphis is going to be lit in September. So, Carlos, I'm going to let you chime in. Eddie George, Tennessee State, give us your thoughts.
Well, first and foremost, let me say Tennessee State, the decision that they made, and on paper right now, it looks great. Time will tell. But I have concerns, and it's just my opinion here, that you have a lot of young African-American coaches, young coaches that have went through the process, done the due diligence, and they are told this is the way you should do it. And then your opportunities, to me, are limited. Now, of course, Eddie George, from a football knowledge standpoint, former player, knows about the game, but no coaching experience. And I understand ADs and universities, they have to make that choice. But I worry about those young coaches that, once again, have paid the price. They've gone through the process. And now I think they're going to lose some opportunities. A case study, maybe? Yeah. You've had some coaches, like Coach Hayward comes to mind at Texas Southern University. He had not head coaching experience, but assistant head coaching experience, and was paid a nice salary, but did not get it done at Texas Southern. And I would say this, I just don't think HBCU should spend a whole lot of time on having coaches that couldn't get experience at their alma maters. Eddie George at Ohio State, Coach Sanders, Florida State, although technically Talladega he got his degree from. I'm just concerned about that, really. I'm gonna be honest with you. And HBCU should not be a training ground or get on the job training. But I wish Tennessee State the best in their hire. And, we'll see. And if I was wrong on this, I'll be first to admit it. I was wrong.
What we have to remember is these are not the first pro athletes to come and coach at HBCUs. I mean, you've got Ty Wheatley up at Morgan State right now. You've got Bo Carter, who kind of actually started this new trend off by going to Alabama State in basketball this fall. Doug Williams came back home to his alma mater at Grambling State after a successful NFL career. So this is not the first time this has happened. I'm sorry, I'm taking up your time, Tony. You're supposed to be talking right now. I had to throw that in.
Well, no, I want to. We can piggyback off of that because see, I on the other end, we've seen places like Juwan Howard. We saw his success in Michigan, and now all of a sudden you see Mike Woodson being hired at Indiana. You see Speedy Claxton at Hofstra. The thing is, with the Sanders hire and the Eddie hire, these are two, let's face it, these are two blue bloods in HBCU football. And the fact that they went in a sense outside the box with both of these hires is, I think, the troubling thing that Carlos is talking about, because you would think that they would give an opportunity to somebody who's been around, who's literally been trying to follow the course. And what does this say to some of these other Black assistants that see that and saying, wow, I can't get a job at a white institution now. I may not be able to get a job at a Black institution now. All that being said, I'm willing to give Eddie a shot. As long as he doesn't give Jeff Fisher a headset, I think he'll be fine. The fact that he's bringing in people like a Hugh Jackson and others, and I know they haven't given all of his assistants, but on the surface, I think, let's put it this way, I don't think Eddie will put as much importance on himself like a certain coach in Jackson. I'll just leave it at that.
Shot fired.
All right, Brian, clean it up for everybody, Brian.
Well, I'm going to add on to what Carlos kind of piggyback a little bit on what he said about not getting a shot at their alma maters. And, yes, Ohio State, Florida State, they don't need, maybe Florida State did, I'm just saying, they don't need Eddie George or Deion Sanders. Jackson State, Tennessee State, let's be honest, they're sort of in a need where they need what Deion Sanders and Eddie George brings in terms of visibility to the marketing dollars, the visibility that their names can bring. We've already seen the impact that Deion's bringing to Jackson State. And being in Nashville, I had a great opportunity to really just listen and observe and think about what Eddie George and the impact. I mean, here's a guy who's came to Nashville straight from Ohio State as a Heisman Trophy winner. He did not go play for another team, if I'm not mistaken. He started and finished his career in Nashville with the Titans, I believe. So
no, he actually played for the Cowboys for briefly too. And
really?
Yes,
I must have been asleep that year. Really, I must have been asleep that year. But no, he's okay. So yeah, I know guys finish their years,
But I know what you're saying though, because he's always going to be identified as an Oilers / Titan.
Right. And so when I'm listening to, when you're in the airport at Nashville and you listen to all of these, hey, I'm such and such coach and such, and hey, you need to remember that we wear masks here in Nashville. And they're giving all these little promos. You know whose name I heard in that little spiel? I heard Eddie George. Hey, I'm Eddie George. Welcome to Nashville, blah, blah, blah. You know what's about to change on that? Hi, I'm Eddie George, head coach of Tennessee State University football. That is going to all of a sudden bring all kinds of marketability, visibility to an already great, proud institution. Look, we understand in our circle how great an institution it is, but in a city that is booming like Nashville is, the opportunity to raise funds, the dollars, Tennessee State is in an opportunity where they're about to start receiving some monies from the state of Tennessee for all the wrongs that they committed to that university. It's a big period of change happening at Tennessee State. So I go back to say they sort of needed to make a splash like this. It's not it's not ideal. We get it. I know we want those assistants to have those opportunities, but for these blue bloods, they have an opportunity. Eddie George and Deion Sanders have an opportunity to put these guys back on the path that they always should have been. But for some reason, mismanagement somewhere along the line, it got off the tracks. Now enter Deion Sanders, enter Eddie George to help put these blue bloods back on the track where they always should have been in the first place.
Well, maybe this gives an opportunity for some of the smaller schools to get some of those guys who would get those those Division I jobs. Maybe this is going to make Division II NAIA ball just a little bit better. Just something to throw out there. Baseball. This weekend, Bryan and I had the opportunity to do the Music City Diamond Classic in Nashville, Tennessee. In addition, we've got the Black College World Series that's going to be coming up in about another week or so. So, baseball fans, Tony, you're a baseball guy. Tell us about what you thought about everything this weekend with these Diamond Classics that we've been seeing going on.
I think it's great, especially for HBCU baseball. Looking forward to the World Series as well. But this is something that I think HBCU baseball has needed for so long, and I hope that there's going to be even more of them. I hope that this spawns even more classics, like we see on the football side, and I think you two guys also need to pat yourselves on the back as well for being a big part of this, and also our brother-in-arms Michael Coker, who's working behind the scenes with the World Series as well. This is great. I hope that we can look back on this year and this weekend as this is the year that sort of metamorphosized HBCU baseball even more so out there, because I'm biased. I'm a baseball guy from a long time back, and I think it's just great to see what's going on now on the HBCU side. And again, bravo to you guys and bravo to everyone else who was involved in this.
Carlos?
What Anthony said, a great opportunity to showcase Black college baseball. To you, Bryan, AD, and Roy, behind the scenes, Michael Coker, Black College Nines, just an outstanding baseball games and the broadcast. And look, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan in Major League Baseball, so the pain that I go through. So
especially with a St. Louis Cardinal fan over here on the other side of this show.
That's a rivalry there, but but to have a chance to really cheer on and get more involved in Black college baseball, it's a great opportunity. And I'll say this: when I'm going to baseball games, I feel like I'm in a remedial baseball class, because the conversations you hear going on in the stands, and these people know baseball. It appears it's a thinking man's game. So hats off, and I look forward to much more exciting news with Black college baseball, and I'm just excited. But hats off to everyone involved. Just a great opportunity.
All right, Bryan, you and I had the pleasure of doing this particular series. You've actually done all three of the Diamond Classics. I did not make the trip out to Dallas due to a schedule conflict. So you probably had the best perspective out of anybody on these Diamond Classics. So please give that to us.
I think what we got to always remember, guys, is that all of this is a big deal for these young men. These players have got an opportunity to play a series, maybe even just a game in the case of Edward Waters and Savannah State, but they did it in a professional ballpark. They did it with a professional environment with the graphics, the logos. I mean, top notch, everything. Look, and the minor league clubs will tell you this was sort of a preseason training spring season for them. They got a chance to sort of work out and get ready for their long season. So they gave them the first class graphics, everything, the PA announcers, the organ music was playing. I mean, it was top notch, man. And so that's what is really impressive. And talking and seeing these young men, look, we understand baseball in general doesn't get all of the financial love that the big sports, basketball and football do. Even there's a bigger disparity at our HBCUs, so it's real important to see that hopefully as people see, they want to give. Like, I hope people saw Tuskegee this weekend and say, hey, I got to give some money to Tuskegee baseball. I hope people saw Lane and say, I got to give some money to Lane baseball. I hope the people who heard our interview with Tennessee State, a program that's been dormant since 1993, I hope people say, hey, I need to go look up that Tennessee State alumni chapter, and I got to reach out. All these great things happening at Tennessee State. Why don't we have baseball? Why? Tell me again. These are the kind of things that are going to happen. And just one final thought. Think about this, guys. We have, and we're part of this as well in terms of naming Black college champions in various sports. We are actually going to get all of the eligible teams who can play competing for a Black college national championship. It's not going to be mythical. It's not going to be 75% of the teams who can play in that division. It's not going to be between two conferences and we got a few stragglers out there that, sorry, we can't fit you in. No. This is legitimate. Anybody who is eligible will play. That's how big this event is going to be. So it'll almost be an undisputed Black college national champion among the NAIA and I guess what we call small school. And then the Division I is going to be even more ridiculous. Just the fact that somebody's going to walk away and say they are the undisputed Black college national champions because we did it on the field. That is awesome.
Yes. Only thing I want to bring up, and it's specifically about this weekend series, there were two great underlying stories. Tuskegee with the story of Darren Brown Jr. He was featured on ESPN as a freshman with the multiple surgeries and what it just took for him to play baseball. What a story. We did an update to that story. We ran it before game one. And then Courtney Joyner, player died in a motorcycle accident last June for Lane. And the emotion of just talking to Coach Barber before the game, the emotion of when he was telling us what they were going to do, the ceremony to honor him, and then the emotion down there on the field. This was his senior class. The guys who walked, the 12 guys who they honored, he was part of that dozen. So the stories, that's what this was all about. That was the one thing that I took from this weekend series. And please go back to mybcsn.net /diamond and go back and watch those games. If you don't watch the whole game, just watch the before game and watch the feature that we had on both Darren Brown and Courtney Joyner before game one and before game two. With that, it's time for us to go to break. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk about a player who was good enough to sign a free agent contract in a league straight out of college, but couldn't even make the doggone first team in her conference. So we'll be right back here. Knights of the Round Table, presentation of HBCU Pro Sports Media.
I have in me the ability
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
We're back here on Knights of the Round Table. I teased it before we went to break. There was a player, HBCU women's basketball player, played in the NAIA, got drafted by the Minnesota Lynx. Only HBCU player, matter of fact, the only small school player she didn't get drafted. She signed a free agent contract, camp invite. The only non-Division I player to this date in 2021 to receive an invite to the WNBA camp. Who am I talking about? Ashika Alexander signed with the Minnesota Lynx. She signed late Thursday night with the Minnesota Lynx. I did happen to talk to Ashika on Sunday. We're gonna have that interview later on this week on the Sports Wrap Show. But Bryan, I'm gonna let you chime in and go ahead and rip the Sooner Athletic Conference one, if you would, please.
Imagine being the top scorer in your conference, the nation's 5th or 6th leading scorer, and you're the second team. You're not even one of the top. You're not even voted on as one of the top 5 players in your own conference.
Hey, Bryan, can I cut you off on that? For 2 years in a row, she's made second team.
Yeah.
Continue on.
Well, I don't even know what the numbers were last year, but this year, I can't imagine they have been too far off, but shameful. And I was looking to say, hey, maybe some other young ladies from the Sooner Athletic Conference are playing. I got an offer with the WNBA. I don't see it. No, shameful. Shame on you, Sooner Athletic Conference. But that's all right. All things will come to those who wait. Congratulations to Ashika Alexander, and we wish you the best. I mean, whatever happens, it's a good start to your professional career if it maintains the way. And I think you were even teasing Drew there. Well, we won't even tease that. We're just gonna wish her luck where she's at with the Minnesota Lynx.
She has options.
She has options, yes, and we'll keep it at that. But good luck with the Minnesota Lynx.
Carlos.
Congratulations, to Miss Ashika Alexander. Listen to Bryan with his comments as far as sometimes it's just not an objective personnel in a conference. I mean, to now go on to the next level and play and not being recognized really by your own conference. Wow, that's not surprising, but you continue to see this all the time. Politics has reared its ugly head. I'll just say it from a political standpoint. And it's now for us to be able to see her at the next level and support her. And Bryan was saying, and you, AD, that she's going to be successful regardless, but just the opportunity to go on to the next level, that's what's most impressive. So now I'll have a new basketball player / person to follow and continue to see how well she does in this thing they call life.
All right. She may not have gotten respect from her conference, but she sure got much respect from the Black College Sports Network.
And that's most important.
Well, it's important to me since I'm a member of the Black College Sports Network, and so is Bryan and a few other of us. 3-time player of the week for small schools, and was first team All-American for us, and was runner-up to National Player of the year. Tony, your 2 cents, please.
A few years ago, Vanessa Williams said the best revenge is success, and that would be the best way to work out for this lady from Langston to have a real successful run in the WNBA or wherever she winds up going. I think it's even better because let's be honest, there's not as many professional opportunities in the States for the ladies as there are for the men. So the fact that she's going to be able to get a chance to play with a great team and a great organization, kudos to her. I do watch the WNBA, so I'm definitely going to make it a point to watch out more for her this upcoming season. And again, good luck to her.
Well, I know assuming she makes the team when they come play the Atlanta Dream, I'm definitely going to be covering that game when they come play the Atlanta Dream. Does Orlando still have a WNBA team, Bryan?
No. I
guess you got to go to Miami. Does Miami still have the team?
I'm a little off of all the sports I'm following. I'm a little off. I know the Indiana Fever have a team. That's all I really worry about.
So you just catch them when you go back to the house, then.
There you go.
Yeah. Carlos, it got a team down in your area?
No, and I could not pull for Atlanta. Sorry. Atlanta seems to be a hot spot. I mean, the owner, wow.
Well, we're going to come back to Atlanta and the state of Georgia in a minute.
It's called Atlanta for a reason.
Is there a WNBA team in your area?
Yeah, we have the Connecticut Sun. Actually, that's the old Orlando Miracle.
There you go. That's
team.
right.
Okay.
That's all right. See.
Yeah.
When the Lynx play the Sun, make sure you go over there to support her.
I will. They actually play at the casino, believe it or not.
Oh well, see, I said go support her, not support the casino.
Oh no, the casino's got enough of my money. That's enough.
But speaking of players going pro, y'all, the NFL draft is coming. We just had the HBCU combine. All right. Let's get to the reality of this, fella. Will we have more than a LaChavia Simmons in the 7th round call this year like we had last year? Will we only get I believe it was 7 UFDA contracts like we had last year? Carlos, you get to lead this one off.
Again, look at from a historical standpoint, not many of the HBCU student athletes get drafted for that particular sport. Football, it was interesting. I was looking at Bethune-Cookman wide receiver Jimmy Robinson ran the 40-yard dash in 4.28. You can't coach speed. That's something that he has. And most of the time you see free agent contract signings. I think that will still be the trend. And we often talk about if you're good enough, the scouts and the teams, they will find you. But boy, they have not really drafted a lot of the HBCU student athletes. And just looking at the list, it's good to have a combine, and hopefully someone will get drafted. But if not, free agent signings, that's where they've made most of their that they're living at as far as signing. And from an economical standpoint, sometimes it is not as bad because of this. You can really choose if you don't get drafted, kind of where you go and see where it's the best fit for you. So I don't see the trend changing too much. You may have a few, but it'll still be mostly on free agent signings.
Look, we all saw the numbers from the HBCU combine. We dominated the underwear Olympics. So when it comes down to the pure talent, we know we can compete. We just have to get the opportunity. Tony, your turn, please.
Yeah, you said it all. The thing is, I don't feel like that there's a drop off from talent from even 10, 5, 15 years ago. It's just the opportunities have dried up. The NFL wants to do things on the cheap. I akin it to when Major League Baseball infiltrated the Negro Leagues. They're only going to go after certain type of guys, and they'll nickel and dime the other ones. But that's their loss. But the one good thing is You've got the XFL now. You've got arena football. You've got the CFL. If nothing else, if you don't get that NFL shot right up front, you've got other ways to hone your game. And that's why it's good that you have the combine, and it's good that you have all these other showcases out there so people can see them, whether it's the 1AA, NAIA, or what have you. But unfortunately, the NFL is probably going to just, not give them their due, but all the more reason why they still need to just still work on that craft and still be given an opportunity to do that. And that's the most important thing that this combine is going to be able to do for them.
Once upon a time, we were the cheap labor that Major League Baseball went after. Now they go to the Dominican Republic and get the same athlete they would have gotten over here, even cheaper. Bryan, bring us home on this topic.
The big disadvantage from last year was not having our guys that we talked about, that we knew about. The pandemic took away the opportunity for teams, scouts, to actually go lay eyes on young men, to actually really see if what they see on the video really is real, and what I've learned over the past year for scouts, that is a very big deal, being able to get out and travel and go see. So that's sort of the big thing at why the combine is big, why the pro days are so important. So the fact that a year later, you were able to actually invite guys to one central location, do it safely. You were able to bring the guys from the class of 2020 as well as 21. A lot of guys who missed the previous year were able to be there, and you had 32 teams. That tells me that everybody in the NFL made the investment to go see and put eyes on these young men, to have the interviews and the conversation. So what you end up seeing is when Jimmy Robinson runs the 4.28, which is the second fastest time of anybody that has run a 40 a time in any of these scouting combine team camp days, everybody's clock had it. So they can all look around at each other and say, yeah, that's legit. 4.28. Wow. Let me go look at the film. When they see the young man from South Carolina State, Tyrell Goodwin, when they go see him do the 34 reps at 225, my God. I mean, that's legitimate. So then you go look at the film and you go look at the stats. So I got a feeling you're going to have more than I set the number at about 2.5. I think you're going to have about 3 guys drafted this year. I really do. And I know that seems low, but what we just came off of, it's almost like a reset of a year ago. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm willing to, hey, anybody want to, meet me somewhere on that line? If anybody wants the under, I'll take the over. Let's go 2.5. I got at least 3 guys going. I don't know which 3, so don't get me, don't back me into a corner on that. But I'm just saying, I got a feeling we're going to have at least 3 taken.
Well, the NFL draft will be held next Thursday through Saturday. First round on Thursday the 29th, rounds 2 through 4 on the 30th, and rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday the 1st. And then let the free agent signings begin. Last topic for the day, fellas. And this is actually a topic that was not originally on our show script, but we got into this debate during pre-show, and I was like, hold those thoughts. We're going to do this. We're going to do this on the air. And I'm going to let Tony lead this one off after I introduce the topic. Major League Baseball moved its all-star game from Atlanta to Colorado. The baseball game was in Atlanta in order to honor Hank Aaron, who just passed away a couple of months ago. Actually, it was earlier this year. I believe it was after the new year had turned when Hank Aaron passed. Now, we know, I live in Georgia. We all know what's going on with the voting rights throughout America, and Georgia is the guinea pig for what people are trying to do as far as limiting voting rights. So your comments on the All-Star game moving, and what about events centered around HBCU sports and culture that happened in the state of Georgia. Fountain City Classic, BX Swag Challenge, Celebration Bowl. I mean, there are five SIAC teams here in the state of Georgia who play some type of classic in the state of Georgia. Take all that into consideration when forming your opinion, Tony.
And also, the NBA All-Star Game, which basically just did a whole thing of celebrating HBCUs, was just also in Atlanta as well. Little background. Apparently, Tony Clark, the MLBPA president, this was something that he had put out with the players from the Player Alliance, and this had to do with a lot of the ex-players, CC Sabathia, Curtis Granderson, and others. This is where the thing started, and it mushroomed into that. I had heard about this during spring training. And again, this is not baseball all of a sudden having a moral ground. I think they, in a sense, they want to quote unquote be on the quote unquote right side of history, so to speak. But let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of Black-owned businesses that have been affected, are going to be and have been affected by this. I was surprised that they went to Colorado. I thought for sure, since they were going to honor Hank Aaron, that they would go to Milwaukee. To me, it would have made a great transition because, of course, he played most of his formative career in Milwaukee. Of course, he also was the king of Atlanta as well. But that's where the whole story started. This may wind up being a snowball effect for a lot of things. This may play out sort of like the bathroom issue in North Carolina a few years ago when the NCAA pulled out. So this is one of those ones where you're going to have to stay tuned, because there's also a lot of other businesses that are starting to pull out as well. And that's the slippery slope. I mean, I applaud them for what they did, but I still think that they didn't look at this I don't think they looked at the totality of it.
And we've seen some movies that were scheduled to be filmed in the Atlanta area have also moved out. How I go, something to keep alert on. Tyler Perry puts his house on the market or puts his studio on the market, then we know it's real. Whether you love him, whether you hate him, Tyler Perry employs a lot of people in the state of Georgia. Go ahead, Brian.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I didn't know that there was so much filming that went on in the state of Georgia. I mean, probably maybe next to California, Georgia might be the second most or the second highest state in terms of actual television movie productions that are actually going on. I mean, that's unofficial. I don't know that to be true, but at least,
only other place might be New York that may be in that running.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's big. I'm not gonna get, as much as we're gonna crack down on Major League Baseball or question whether they should move or where they move to. I'm gonna start with the NBA. The NBA All-Star event was going on right as this was being decided. We didn't hear a word about it. There was, and maybe the NBA was saying, look, we're trying to keep the focus on the HBCUs and all these other things. And they missed the moment. The moment that the NBA, with everything it had, and maybe it was just too much, I get it, but the NBA missed. They didn't even bring it up. It didn't come up in conversation at all as the deciding votes were being thought about. Just imagine if the NBA players would have brought attention to this on that weekend. Imagine the number of people that would have called the local congressmen in the Georgia Senate offices on that Monday after the All-Star break. The vote happened right after the All-Star break. So now, fast forward, are we going to really put the pressure on ESPN, the MEAC SWAC challenge? Are we going to say to the Celebration Bowl? Are we going to say, hey, you guys need to make a stand? That's going to be an interesting debate. I honestly don't know how I really feel about it. I'm kind of on the fence about it, because I understand that in order for something like this to change, there has to be some sort of economic pressure. That's the only thing that's going to speak to wanting this to change. But at the same time, where we're trying to put economic pressure, we're hurting. Who are we hurting? We're hurting people that look like us. We're hurting businesses and those people can't just up and move. So
You got to remember the Montgomery bus boycott. Yeah, it was economic pressure. It hurt us in the short term, but in the long term, we got what we needed out of that bus boycott. And there was a lot of sacrifice by those people in Montgomery, Alabama during that time. And let's forget, we're talking about us suffering. The city of Atlanta, the largest city in Georgia, the most probably Black populous city in the state of Georgia, is ran by an HBCU alum who just happens to be alumnus of the university you and I graduated from, Brian, that being Keisha Lance Bottoms.
It wasn't following a pandemic, though. The year, I mean, I get yes, it was, everything that was going on.
It was following a war, so what's the difference? Carlos, help us out here.
Well, let's just be clear. It's voter suppression. Not only in Georgia, but there's other states that are enacting legislation to do that. And we've had too many of our people to have died and shed blood for the right. So after this last election, you want to now change the rules. And we for so long have had to adapt and beat the other side with the rules that they made. Now, once again, they're moving the needle. So it's voter suppression. And it's not just in Georgia, all over the place. Now, it'll come down to a personal perspective. I've already been asked, you've been to every Celebration Bowl. What are you going to do? It's in Atlanta. I have to give it serious consideration, thought on it, a perspective. And Brian is right. From an economic standpoint, sometimes this is the only pressure that those who are trying to suppress the vote understand. Economic boycott. And you got to have a mental revolution. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I've got to make a decision of what I'm going to do as far as, do I go to a place that is simply suppressing the vote with the legislation that they have passed? Politics rears its ugly head in sports, in the sports field as well.
And if I could add, Drew,
go ahead.
I think we shouldn't put this on just the Celebration Bowl and the MEAC and SWAC, because you know who we got to go to. We got to let Disney, ABC, and ESPN know, because they're the ones who organize those events. And you know what they also organize? They also organize the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl that goes on as a big event there. I mean, so they have a lot of economic power.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Georgia should still be in the rotation for the championship semifinals.
I think
they're in that rotation. I don't know if next year is one of their years, but they are in the rotation.
Yeah, I think it's next year. I actually think it is next year.
Right. That's where the sports targeting will go to. And I think as we have these conversations, and I know we'll probably start having them more in the summertime, we ought to really be looking at ESPN and saying, ESPN, where do you stand on this? Let's not go to the MEAC and SWAC. Let's go to the big dog, the ABC, Disney, ESPN, that conglomerate, and say, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, and we're in the overtime on this show. This show is supposed to be an hour, but we had to get this topic in. Wow. We're beating up on the state of Georgia right now. Everybody, wherever you live, Google and find out the voter suppression laws, because 47 of the 50 states have some form of voter suppression law that's being ran through their House or their Senate at this current time. There are only 14 states that are looking to expand voters' rights. So we're beating up on Georgia right now, but it may be your state next week that we're coming around. In Texas, you on the short list. I just want you to know.
And then Drew, can I just add one last thing too, as well, right quick? The whole thing of sports and politics, that barn door has been open from Jack Johnson to Jesse Owens to Jackie Robinson to Ali to Jim Brown to John Carlo. I mean, I could go on and on and on. This is not, this is not just something that has just come up. We've been living through it. It's just that in certain instances, because you didn't have, say, the media that you had back in the day, now it becomes even more of an issue and it's illuminated a little bit more. It's always been there, but it's just always been under the surface.
All right, fellas. We in the free time. You know, when I refereed, I hated free time, but when we on this podcast, I love to do them. But we got some listeners who probably like, I got something else I need to be doing right now. But y'all just too much interesting. So we gonna go ahead. We gonna wrap it up, fellas. Try to 30 seconds if you can. I know it's a big if when I'm asking you. Give us your one final outtake. It can be on a subject that we've already covered, or it could be on a different subject that we have not even gotten to. After you give your outtake, go ahead, give your plugs once again, fellas. Let's do this in alphabetical order. We're gonna start off with Carlos Brown.
Well, baseball is a sport that really doesn't get the coverage that it should, but thanks to Black Card Sports Network, that's changing. And this is the one sport I think HBCUs can really advance themselves as far as outside competition, non-conference play. So I look for baseball to have bigger and better things. And with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman coming in, not only baseball, but other sports, I can't wait to the fall. And hopefully from a pandemic standpoint, we're in a much better place. I'm the host of the Carlos Brown Show, Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Central Standard Time on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Producer, Dr. Michael Prince. Me and him agree or disagree quite often. So make sure you tune in. I appreciate the support.
Bryan?
Being in Nashville gave me an opportunity to meet two Nashville legends. One, a young man who just graduated from Vanderbilt University in Nashville not too long ago, won a College World Series with Vanderbilt, came out of Chicago, out of Simeon High School. His name is Ro Coleman. He's given up playing in the professional leagues where he was drafted, I believe, by the Detroit Tigers to want to make a change for young people. He spoke to Tuskegee's baseball program before their game. He's got a program, a foundation called Empowerment Pursuit, and that's empowermentpursuit.org. And his name is Ro Coleman, and he is doing some great things in the Nashville community. And so if you can get to his website and you can go and find and support him, that'd be great. And then just on the opposite end of the age spectrum, had the pleasure to talk with the legendary coach Allen Robinson, the last coach of Tennessee State University. He and his last captain, a young man, he is sort of young still, I'm giving credit, Greg Goodwin out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's a Tennessee State alum. He was a captain in Coach Robinson's first season at Tennessee State, not his last, his first season. He is the president of the Tennessee State Baseball Alumni Association, but he's also an administrator, a coach in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and his organization is working with young people in Atlanta, Georgia, bringing the love of baseball back. So don't let anybody tell you that people that look like us don't play baseball. I may have thought that as I listened to other networks and other people tell me that. That's not the case. We are out there. There are people that are giving their time, their lives, their efforts, their time, and their money to more people that look like us playing the game in baseball. We just got to go support them. So when we hear their names, go out and support them. Go support the Ro Coleman and the Greg Goodwin of the world when we have. My name is Bryan Fulford of the Black College Sports Network. Find us at MyBCSN1, the number 1, or www.mybcsn.net.
Tony.
Real quick, we talked about the new coach hires, of course, with Eddie George, but one we neglected to was Terreno Morgan down in Little Edward Waters College. And this is the type of person that we've been talking about. 17 years in the business, has already put almost a dozen players in the NFL through his coaching, while the Eddie Georges and the Deion Sanderses of the world are going to get the headlines, it's the foot soldiers like Mr. Morgan that are going to out there that's going to have even more of an impact on HBCU football and HBCU sports. And we hope that that continues. You can catch everything that we do on our www.basnnewsroom.com. And also, again, we're on Facebook at Still the Solo Sports and on Instagram, BASN_newsroom.
All right. And my final idea is going back to baseball. But I want to talk about what's upcoming. Bryan mentioned it. For the first time in my recollection, we're going to crown a true HBCU champion in a division on the field. That will occur beginning next Wednesday, the 28th, in Montgomery, Alabama, Riverwalk Stadium, the Black College World Series. Shout out to Black College Nines for, first of all, for the coverage that they have and for even creating the vision to do this. Irwin Prentice Hill for being the promoter. Shout out to our CEO, Roy Evans, because all three of these different groups have had this idea. Due to COVID and meetings of the minds, they was like, I can do this, you could do it, or you could do it, but together we can do it great. And that's what has happened this year with these Diamond Baseball Classics. I've happened to be a part of these. Even when I wasn't there, I was still part of the discussion. Bryan has had the privilege of being a part of it. So just the appreciation that the coaches, the players, and the fans are giving us. Yeah, we want more likes, we want more clicks, we want more shares. But the appreciation that we're getting from our peers, from those ones who are out there playing, thank y'all for covering us. My mama could sit at home and watch during this pandemic. My alumni can watch. My athletic director, while he's over there doing another sport, can at least glance at the phone and see what's going on. So great meetings of the minds right there. Tomorrow, right here on the Black College Sports Network, we will unveil the brackets for the first ever Black College World Series. That will come on 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, right after Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Wednesday, there will be a press conference in Montgomery, Alabama, that we will also be carrying live on the Black College Sports Network. And you can catch the entire Black College World Series presented by Black College Nines and BCSG 360. And I have to slow down because there's a lot of acronyms that are real close together when you try to say it fast. Bryan knows what I'm talking about. Beginning next Wednesday. First game is set to begin, I believe, at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Tune in, like, share, subscribe, and if you can, support. My name is A.D. Drew at BCSN Drew. Everything else that Bryan says applies to me. I'm not going to go through it all again. What I am going to tell you is join us here next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We're going to try to keep the show to an hour, but you may get some free show next week. I want to thank each one of these gentlemen for joining us. Next week, I'll be back with 3 more guests from around the world of HBCU sports. Once again, for Carlos Brown, Bryan Fulford, and Tony McClean. My name is A.D. Drew. We thank y'all. God bless you. We see you next Monday.